thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
Let's get twisted. Let's get twisted. Twisted. Let's get twisted. Twisted. Let's get twisted. Gonna get twisted. Let's get twisted.
Hey yo, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show. I am, of course, your host, Review It Rob, coming at you with a new review this week for the movie Sick, new horror movie that hit Paramount this week. I was going to be talking about the latest going on in horror news, DC news, and anything else I can come across movie-wise to give all of you beautiful people. Hope everybody out there has been doing good since the last time we had our little show here, man. Hope everything's been going good. Been a little busy for me, but good busy. Did a couple of things here on the Throw Me Podcast Network that hopefully you've seen already. If not, it is available on our YouTube. Talking about the Slasher Report. Hunter's Podcast presents the Slasher Report. I was a special guest on there doing one of my sporadic adventures on the show. I'll be there every now and then. We'll see what happens there. But was on there, talked about some fun stuff between HHN going to Vegas, a Megan film maybe being a house at HHN, and then we gave our Friday the 13th thoughts as far as the franchise goes, the future. Go ahead and check that out. Got some Friday the 13th news coming for you later on this episode. Let's see. Also, did a Friday the 13th watch along because it was Friday the 13th last week since last time we talked. We had that horror holiday, which I think is something that should be recognized every time it happens. But good times going on over there on the Throw Me Podcast Network's YouTube. Be sure to check that out and give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, all that good stuff. Rate, review, wherever you find the show, wherever podcasts are available. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. Got a TikTok as well, and a Patreon, man. Fun stuff going on over there on the Patreon. You got some exclusive content going down over there. Check that stuff out with some extra special goodies and all that going on over there on the Patreon. Again, be sure to follow, like, subscribe to YouTube. We got some special events coming up. We're going to do some more watch-alongs over there, video game plays, and we've got the Royal Rumble game coming later this month, man. If you're a WWE fan or if you're a wrestling fan, if you've never watched wrestling, actually, and you just want to have some fun, man, join our Patreon, $1 tier, and, you can, just $1, man, and you can, play the Royal Rumble game with us. There's going to be 2 Royal Rumble events. There's the Women's Royal Rumble and the Men's Royal Rumble, and it's just a good time, man. It's a good time. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's just like a fun event to watch and be entertained by. Give me just a moment while I pop my soda open here. There you go. But yeah, that's the stuff going on over there. Throw Me Podcast Network. All kinds of fun stuff going on. Music shows like the Metal Groove podcast. This show, entertainment, or mostly movie news, video game talk, some WWE talk, all that stuff on this show. We got the I Guess This Is Growing Up podcast that has joined us doing their thing. We've got the Core Memory Unlocked show with Zach and Justin talking about memories of the 90s. That's fun times right there. And we've got Mr. Wonderful, who's working on a brand new show for the Throw Me Podcast Network. Can't wait to check that out. He's doing some best of episodes until that comes out. Be sure to check out the Mr. Wonderful show. Always good times over there, man. And again, check out the Throw Me Podcast Network. We got some fun things going on over here. And yeah, more fun to come, of course, as time goes on. Let's go ahead and jump in to our review for this week's episode. It is a film entitled Sick. It is a Peacock, I may have said Paramount earlier. It is a Peacock original horror film that debuted recently on the streaming service. It is also from Blumhouse. So Blumhouse kicking out the jams early this year. Remember last week I talked about Megan, the film that is captivating millions in the theaters there and the box office and all that good stuff. Blumhouse knocking it out of the park there with their team up with Atomic Monster. Talk about them in the news a little bit later. Got another thing to talk about with them going on. And now we got another Blumhouse jammy jam here with Sick. It is rated R for terror language throughout, strong violence, and some drug use. It is a horror mystery thriller. For me, that is the trifecta of awesome. Movie is only 1 hour and 23 minutes. It's not that long. And again, this is a Peacock original, so it is streaming on the Peacock. As the pandemic steadily brings the world to a halt, Parker and her best friend Miri decide to quarantine at the family lake house alone. Or so they think. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a critic score of 88%, while the audience has it at a 65%, and IMDb is coming in at a 6.2 out of 10. So, what were my thoughts of the film? So, kind of went into this movie without a whole lot of knowledge. I think I may have seen the trailer and glimpsing, or maybe saw like a post about it on like Peacock's social media page or something like that. I'd never watched a trailer, I don't think. So I was kind of going into the movie like, okay, I got the gist of it from what I saw. It's a pandemic style film, which, we're in the year 2022, so we're still dealing with COVID, but definitely not as strongly as we were dealing with it in 2020, which is when this movie is taking place in the height of the COVID time. So they took the horror idea of lake house, cabin, alone vibe and set it around the COVID pandemic, where, of course, we remember it and going through it, where we were in lockdowns and everything was scary and there was shortage on supplies and, you were weary of anybody just sneezing, let alone some random person, out in the world or anything like that, but just alone somebody cough or sneeze, it freaks you out, right? So that quarantining and self isolation of everything, you're putting that whole idea and vibe into a horror movie now, um, which is an interesting idea and an idea that I think works pretty well if done right. Because again, you're alone, and what's the scary thing in horror films, especially in an isolated area like a family lake house that's away from everything in the world, right? It's it's out there, it's by itself. There's no real neighbors around you or anything like that. Some basic kind of horror tropes where you're alone and you're isolated, you're by yourself. There's no one around. There's no civilization close. It's like they're like miles away from you and all that stuff. So those basic horror movie tropes that we've heard seen in other movies played to good use and sometimes not so good use. But that's the idea of this movie here is, of course I don't give any spoiler reviews, so I'm not going to tell you why this is going on and the eventual ending outcome or anything like that. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, just going to give you my feelings on the film itself. So again, I like the idea of it for sure. So yeah, going into it, I was like, okay, interesting idea. I get it. I get what we're going for, and I watched the movie, and it has this, it does have a tense vibe to it, because again, you think about these movies where, you're not really by yourself. This person has their friend with them, and then, you go from there. But you think about those movies like The Strangers or something like that, where just there are people in their house, and just I don't know where somebody shows up at the house, and it's just creepy. Yeah, I mean, we've all had that feeling, be it if we're by ourselves somewhere, staying, even sometimes like staying at a hotel, even though there's people all around you, it's still like this new place, and you're trying to adapt and get used to this new place and new ideas. So you get a little bit of the creepy, tingling feelings when you're by yourself, right? So you can think about that, even, up the intensity a little bit because you're at a lake house, which is, just surrounded by trees and darkness, and it's just nowhere that you can, anything can be out there. Heck, I remember staying at my brother's house when he lived in like this like almost isolated area as well. I mean, there's still, I mean, people closer and everything like that, but it's still like a, wooded area. And when it gets dark outside, it is dark, dude. And you look out a window and you can't really see anything except for maybe a light. And you're like, man, this is creepy vibes. And, I remember that as creepy vibes and all that stuff. So, the idea of that works out very well. You add into the fact of the COVID times and everybody's freaked out about, spreading the disease that is, just insanity. So I like the vibe of the movie. I like the feel of the movie. There is a Scream feeling to the movie. Again, not going into spoiler vibes or spoiler talk or anything like that, but there's a Scream vibe to it if you're watching it. What was that movie recently that was on Netflix? I say recently, but it hasn't been on there in a while. Hush. That movie came out what, 2016, so it's been a while. But that movie, I get some vibes of that movie as well when watching this. But I think the movie is good. I think the movie was done very well, especially for something that's an hour and 23 minutes. It kept me entertained, it kept me interested, and it definitely it kept me with a tense vibe because again, it's a spooky thought, man. Just being out there by yourself, and then there's just somebody out there. Yeah. Again, like I said, everybody's had that, whether you're be it in a hotel or just in a house by yourself for the first time ever. But that works, and it works in this movie, and I enjoyed the movie from start to finish. Again, it's only an hour and 23 minutes. It's not all that long of a movie. And it kept me interested from the get-go. There was like a moment where there were like some personal, details between one of the characters and another one of the characters, but you know, the intensity of the film is there. The violence is there. It is rated R for strong violence, and it definitely has some strong violence in it. There is some gore going on in the movie, not something, Saw vibe or anything like that. But there's some gore definitely in the movie. Bloody gore. Nothing like too intense. That'll make you throw up or anything like that. But definitely get your gore in there, and I think the movie works, and it was an entertaining watch for sure. Again, I've only seen two new movies in 2023. It's Megan and this, both Blumhouse jams, and you gotta say both of them are really good. Of course, Megan's a better movie, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we get to the end of this year and I have this movie as an honorable mention or anything like that. I don't know if it'll be a top 10 film for me. Maybe it could. Maybe it could sneak in there. Who knows? Still very, very early in the year, but I did enjoy it. I think the intensity and tense moments they put into the movie works. I think the story's fine. I mean, the story works. Actually, the more I think about it, because I honestly just got done watching the movie, so still processing my thoughts. But the story works to a degree, especially you think about how crazy the times were during the early stages of COVID. Again, we're not, out of it by any means, but it's definitely nowhere near where it was, where states were shutting down and all that stuff. Countries were shutting down, but I did enjoy the movie. I think they did a good job with the idea they had here. It works pretty well. I don't know how many more, COVID horror films are out there, or movies dealing with COVID are out there. I'm sure they've been created and they'll be continued to come out as the years go on. And we continue to progress here. But I think the movie was enjoyable, especially again for an hour and 23-minute film that was a Peacock original movie. I think they did a really good job, and I say it's worth checking out if you need something to watch. You get your cabin in the woods vibes. Well, cabin on a lake, not really cabin in the woods. Cabin in a lake, by a lake, which kind of like a cabin in the woods. You get those vibes. You get some Scream vibes, Hush vibes. If you haven't seen Hush, by the way, check that out. It's on Netflix. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was a well done movie. A good enough done movie. I'm not gonna, I don't know if I don't know. It all depends on people's personal preference. But I did enjoy it as like I wouldn't say I'm like a horror snob, but I've watched a lot of horror movies, and I think this one works. Again, like I said, you kind of mix all those other movies in together, classic horror tropes. You mix those movies, throw a little bit of strangers in there, um, and there you go. Not so much strangers, because strangers, the whole idea there was just because somebody was home, right? This movie has something else. This deals with something else, and I'll let you determine if you like what it ended up dealing with and what the reasoning for the stalking and all that stuff was. I'll let you figure that out and see what you think about that. But I think it's fine, and I did enjoy the movie. I'd probably watch it again for sure. But yeah, there you go. Check it out. Sick, streaming now on the Peacock. All right, so we were talking about a horror movie. Let's go ahead and jump into the horror news, kicking off with the biggest horror news as far as I'm concerned, and that is with Chucky. Chucky is my horror icon, and can't wait to experience the Chucky themed house that'll be at Halloween Horror Nights this year. 2023 is Halloween Horror Nights. So excited to check that out, man. Because I've never been through a Chucky house. Got to go through a scare zone. Got to do the photo op and all that stuff, which was a great time. But finally get to go through a house this year at 8HHN32. But that is not the news. The news here is that Chucky has been renewed for a third season. Chucky creator Don Mancini expressed his gratitude towards the fans and their outpouring of love recently with this following quote. The cast and crew of Chucky would like to thank fans and critics alike for their overwhelming response to Season 2, which we're delighted to announce has greenlit a Season 3. This news has made Chucky very happy. Thank Damballa for that, because otherwise Chucky would have been frankly impossible to deal with. Many thanks also to our partners at Sci-Fi USA and UCP, I don't know what that is, for helping us keep Chucky busy. See you in 2023 for what Chucky himself promises will be his scariest season ever. 2023, that's this year. So season 3 is coming later this year. Go ahead, man. They aren't wasting any time. Season 1 was fantastic. Absolutely love season 1. Season 2 I have not seen, unfortunately. I thought it would be streaming on Peacock. After it debuted on Sci-Fi USA, I thought they put an episode out on Peacock. But they haven't done that. Then I'm like, okay, I'll wait till the season's over. They did that with Chucky season 1. They put it on Peacock. Still not there, man. Kind of sucks. Kind of want to see the season, especially before season 3 happens. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be there soon. Maybe I'll just have to buy the thing, which isn't a problem. I got no problem buying Chucky stuff. But season 1 is currently still streaming on Peacock and also just went to Shudder as well, which is interesting. It makes me wonder if season 2 will end up on Shudder. Either way, I'm half fine because I do have Shudder. So yeah, I'm very excited about Chucky getting a 3rd season. I'm glad Chucky's getting some freaking recognition and respect, man. Feels like Chucky's always been the disrespected of the horror icons. Chucky is a horror icon. Chucky's a big deal in the horror realm, and you look at it, he's one of the big, franchises still around at the moment. I mean, it's just Chucky and Halloween, honestly. They're really carrying the thing right now. Texas Chainsaw Massacre can't get it together. Friday the 13th, can I have some news for you here in a moment about Friday the 13th. That seems like we're finally getting something there, but it's been a while. And, Nightmare on Elm Street still stuck in limbo, So it's honestly been Michael Myers and Chucky that's been carrying the horror icons for a while now, which is fine with me because I enjoy both. But it's nice to see my horror icon finally getting some love in Chucky, man. Can't wait to see what Chucky season 3 has, and hopefully I'll get to see freaking season 2 soon. All right, jumping over to Friday the 13th news. Like I mentioned, we did a watch along Friday the 13th. Check that out on our Thrill Me Podcast Network's YouTube. Friday the 13th franchise is finally getting something, as we know, with the Crystal Lake prequel series that'll be hitting Peacock only at some point. We don't have a release date, but it is coming from A24 Peacock and Brian Fuller, who was behind Hannibal. And we do know that the show will have somehow they're going to be able to use any and all existing elements from the franchise, which is good news. Not going to miss out on anything there, because that was a worry with the lawsuit that was going on, and what has kept Friday the 13th in limbo for so long is, just the rights of what can and can't be used in the Friday the 13th franchise. But it looks like any and all existing elements for the franchise are going to be able to be used for this Peacock series. It's been 14 years. There we go. So it's been 14 years since the last thing we've had from the Friday the 13th, and we're finally getting something with Crystal Lake, which is an upcoming prequel series from A24, Peacock, and Brian Fuller. Peacock has given the project a straight-to-series order, with the show being described as an expanded prequel to the original Friday the 13th franchise. At a Friday the 13th Part 3 screening last week, which was not the Friday the 13th watch-along we did, but again, you can see that on our YouTube. It was provided an exciting update to the project was provided, announcing that Kevin Williamson, who is behind Scream and the movie Sick that I just got done talking about, will be writing an episode for the show. Additionally, original Friday Final Girl, Adrienne King, I don't know, I suck with names, will have a recurring role. Who did Audrey King play? Okay, so Googling it real quick. Audrey King was Alice Hardy, the fictional character in the Friday the 13th franchise. Alice appears in Friday the 13th as an artist working as a camp counselor. Okay, reprised a role in the sequel Friday the 13th Part 2 and the fan film Jason Rising 2021. Alright, so there you go. They will be back. Let's see. The show will be written by Brian Fuller, who is also the showrunner and executive producer. Victor Miller penned the original film Victor Miller, who penned the original film of the franchise, is also executive producer. Friday 13th screening, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's see. They officially start writing in 2 weeks. It will have 2 scores to choose from, a modern one and a classic Manfredini one. Kevin Williamson is writing an episode. Adrian King will be returning role. Fuller has pitched 4 seasons for Crystal Lake. Only one has been officially offered or ordered so far through Peacock, but he did note that they have to pay a pretty hefty penalty if they didn't order a season 2. Let's see. Asked if confirm if Pamela's role in the Crystal Lake series, Fuller replied, "We're honestly going to be covering it all. The series is covering the life and times of these 2 characters," which we assume he's talking about Pamela and Jason there. So, okay, there you go. Friday the 13th, things are moving forward, and they're moving forward in a good way. It seems like the show is still on positive front, and I'm interested in seeing it, man. I wouldn't say Friday the 13th is one of the franchises that I mean, I guess I enjoy it. I don't know. I've only watched the full franchise once. It's kind of got its basic vibe to it. They're enjoyable. Some are, some others are like, yeah, they get a little over the top. But hey, all movies do at some points with sequels, especially horror movies. So I'm glad. I'm just happy, honestly, for the Friday the 13th fans to finally have something to look forward to in that franchise. It's been over 14 years, man. So it's good to see that they finally have something happening more for them. And, I'll keep you posted when we get more news on there. And of course, Hunter's podcast with the Slash Report will have you covered as well. Let's see, Becky. If you don't remember that movie, the horror film that came out a couple of years ago, which I did review on this show, it starred Kevin James. Much talked about seeing Kevin James in a horror movie. Well, that movie's getting a sequel. The sequel is titled The Wrath of Becky. That will premiere at South by Southwest later this year. Lulu Wilson will be returning to the role of Becky. It's also worth noting that Sean William Scott is part of the cast. You probably know Sean William Scott from the American Pie films. Um, I, I mean, I know him from that, of course, but my favorite movie of his, and probably one of my all-time favorite comedy movies, Role Models. He's in that. He's also in The Rundown, probably The Rock's greatest movie. He's in Dude, Where's My Car? Done a lot of good stuff, man, and he's gonna be apparently in The Wrath of Becky, unless this is a different Sean William Scott. Nope, it is that Sean William Scott. So cool. We'll see how that turns out. The other movie was not too bad, man. So we'll see how that one turns out. Teased this earlier. Atomic Monster and Blumhouse, talked about them with Megan. They are teaming up yet again. We do know that they are, of course, still talking about a potential merge between the 2 companies. They, of course, are doing great with the success of Megan right now. And they have another movie coming our way with Night Swim, which is a supernatural thriller starring Wyatt Russell. It is being built around the hidden source of terror found in an iconic backyard swimming pool. Okay, I'm fine with it. I mean, again, Blumhouse has been behind 2 solid films as far as I'm concerned this year already with Megan and now Sick. And then, of course, Atomic Monster and James Wan. Always interesting stuff coming from there. So those 2 working together, putting a movie together, give it to me, man. Wyatt Russell, talented actor, into it, man. Can't wait to see what this turns out to be, especially with a backyard swimming pool that's iconic, with terror. Why not? That could be a good time. So definitely talk about that. When we get more information there. But that's going to do it for the horror news, which means we're going to jump over to DC news. Remember, horror and DC are mandatory talks on this show every single episode. And we're going to kick it off with the first bit of DC news here. The Flash film is set for some reshoots. They are considered to be a few days of minor reshoots. The It's not to change the ending or anything like that. Nothing is being done to change the ending, but instead it is just, quote, to touch up some shots, end quote, in the film. So yeah, nothing big, I guess, changing there. Just doing some minor reshoots. The film will be, of course, releasing later this year. It's on track to stay at its regular release date. Starring Ezra Miller recently. pleaded guilty to the only thing they have actually been charged with, and that was trespassing. The other two accounts have been dropped. So yeah, Ezra has pled guilty there. They will be going under. They had to pay a fine. They will do probation for a year, I want to say. And yeah, and they have to continue, seeking mental health. There's a lot of caveats there, and add-ons to things that Ezra has to make sure they do to meet the deal. But I am happy Ezra's getting help for the mental health. That is the most important thing, of course. And again, Warner Brothers is interested in keeping Ezra on as long as they are continuing to keep working on the mental health aspect, and not do anything crazy here. Keep gotta stay away from alcohol, all that stuff. So yeah, and it seems like Ezra is doing what needs to be done here. So again, the Flash film is testing extremely well. I'm extremely excited about the Flash film. It is my most anticipated film of the year. Again, the Flash is my favorite superhero, so I'm very interested in that movie and seeing how it sets up things with the DCU going forward. And we'll see how things shape up from there. But some minor reshoots going on for the Flash film before it releases later this year. Later this year on June 16th, 2023. Let's see. Rumors have been swirling that an actor from Euphoria by the name of Jacob Eldry, I don't know. I suck with names. Apparently has been cast as Superman for James Gunn's Superman film in the DCU. Gunn has since, clarified what's happening here by saying, quote, "My thoughts are no one has been cast as Superman yet. Casting, as is almost always the case with me, will happen after the script is finished or close to finished, and it isn't. We'll announce a few things in not too long, but the casting of Superman won't be one of them," end quote. So, again, idiots spreading rumors on the internet about James Gunn's DCU just cause an uproar and a stir because they got nothing better to do. But no, as the moment, we do not have a Superman actor named, and we're not going to have one named anytime soon coming from the man himself. But again, remember, later this month, January 2023, we will get some information on the DCU, not all information. I will have you covered here when that news breaks. Let's see, moving forward, Matt Reeves has confirmed that he will have an interview coming up with the DC studio bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran to go over their overhauled DC universe and his Batverse. The goal is to ensure that both universes don't crash into each other in terms of storytelling. Reeves also said, "We want to support each other." Speaking with Collider, Reeves said Gunn and Safran have been great when it comes to supporting his Batverse. We're actually supposed to meet in a few weeks because they want to talk to me about the broad plan and they want to hear the Batverse plan. We're just getting together to talk all about all that. Look, I'm excited to hear what they're going to do. The Batverse thing, as James has said and as Peter has said, is kind of its own thing they're letting us do. Reeves said he has a dream for how he wants the Batverse to play out, and that's part of what I'm going to be talking to them about in a few weeks. They're going to be talking to me about what they're doing in their 10-year plan, or certainly what's in the near future as well, as so that we can understand that we're not. It's all air traffic. We don't want to be crashing into each other. We want to support each other. I'm super excited. I'm really excited to hear about what they're doing and to be working with them. It's going to be cool, end quote. And I'm glad that's happening, man. It may be confusing for some people who can't, process the idea that, different universes can exist within these movies. And in fact, there's going to be a Batverse still happening while the DCU is going on. It's perfectly fine and interesting. I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves has going on over there with his Batverse. As we know, the Batman 2 has already been announced. They are in the middle of working on that script at the moment as well. We know that Matt Reeves is working on the Penguin spin-off show that'll be hitting HBO Max later at some point. I don't believe we have an actual release date for that yet, but that will be tying in. So the events of the Penguin start after the first Batman film and will lead into the next Batman film, as it's been confirmed by Matt Reeves. So that is awesome and interesting. There is also talks of an Arkham Asylum show. We'll have more information on that when we get it. But yeah, it's cool that they're doing that. And it's cool that James Gunn's meeting with them, make sure they don't run into any issues or anything like that. I don't know what the plan for Batman is yet for the DCU. We don't really know at all of any of the plans, honestly. The only thing we know about the DCU right now is that a young Superman story is on the way. We know jack diddly squat about anything else going on with the DCU. Again, we'll find out something soon. But at the same time, just gotta have patience, man, and wait, because it is not, we're not going to know anything until it happens. Just all rumors and innuendos on the internet. So you'll see how all that ends up. But you know me, I love my DC, and I'm very excited about everything that's on the way, man. I'm very hyped up and can't wait to see what we get from the DC universe going forward. Jumping into a little bit of other news here before we close out the show. Adam Driver is the latest actor rumored to be playing Reed Richards in the upcoming Fantastic Four film for the MCU. Rumors of Reed Richards and other reports have mentioned Elvis star Austin Butler is being eyed for the role of Johnny Storm, also known as the Human Torch. We don't know. Again, these are all rumors here. A lot of people have been rumored for Reed Richards. Remember, John Krasinski recently played the character in Wanda in the Multiverse of Madness, as I like to call it. But apparently John Krasinski will not be back in that role. They are looking for another actor. There's been some other names thrown out that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Miles Teller? No, Miles Teller played the character before. My bad. Somebody, I don't remember. But yeah, Adam Driver is now the latest rumor, which is rumor saying it's very highly sought after by Marvel to play the role. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. As far as Austin Butler being cast as, I don't know much about the Fantastic Four. Again, get your bingo cards ready. Not a Marvel guy. I'm not a deep Marvel guy. I can enjoy some stuff, but I'm not deep in the know of the Marvel stuff. But I like Austin Butler. He's a good actor. He showed it with the Elvis movie. So whatever he brings, he's rumored for that. He's also rumored for the Green Lantern. See how those turn out. The Fantastic Four film is set to debut during the MCU's Phase 6 on February 14th, 2025. So 2 years from now. So we'll see when we'll get any information. I don't even know if we'll get any information on the movie this year. We've got all kinds of panels and goodies that happen throughout the year. So who knows? Anything can happen. All right, and last bit of movie news here. William H. Macy is joining 20th Century Fox's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Man, there's another Planet of the Apes movie on the way. I had no idea. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes starts an all-new chapter in the Apes saga, picking up many years after the conclusion of 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes. Cool, man. Why not? I think I've enjoyed those movies. I haven't watched them in a long time. 2017 is probably, honestly, the last time I watched a Planet of the Apes movie. And I remember enjoying that movie. And I don't think it was just because Steve Zahn was voicing one of the apes. Steve Zahn's one of my favorite actors, man. So it was awesome, hearing him voice one of the apes. But I think I enjoyed those movies. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while. But yeah, good on him, man. Keep making those Planet of the Apes movies. Why not? 20th Century Fox Jam, so that's a Disney movie. Cool. More power to him, I guess. We'll see what ends up happening there. But I'll see it again. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I enjoyed the last Planet of the Apes movies. I know I saw War for the Planet of the Apes in theaters, and I feel like I came out of there with a positive. I don't know. It's been a while. All right, so that does it for the movie news. Hope you enjoyed that. Got some random news, WWE news here at the end for you. Just going to throw out here. Cody Rhodes announced that he will be back in the Royal Rumble. A lot of that was speculated by a lot of us fans that Cody Rhodes would be back. Highly believed to win the Royal Rumble. We'll see how that turns out. But Cody Rhodes officially coming back at the Royal Rumble. Next week, Monday Night Raw, depending on when you listen to this, is going to be the 30th anniversary. They got a lot of stuff going down there. We got Legends returning, of course. You've got Becky Lynch taking on Bayley in a steel cage match. You got Bobby Lashley taking on Austin Theory for the United States Championship. You've got the Usos defending the tag team titles against the Raw tag team titles, which is interesting, against Judgment Day. And you have the Bloodline doing an acknowledgement ceremony for Roman Reigns, which says to feature the full Bloodline, which The Rock is part of the Bloodline. So is The Rock going to be on Raw? 30th anniversary? We'll see. And to close it out here, according to new reports, 2K is planning to hold an event in San Antonio, Texas on January 28th, 2023, the same day as, of course, the Royal Rumble, which again, check out the Throw Me Podcast Network's Patreon. $1. You can join in and play the Royal Rumble game with us that will be streaming on our YouTube. Again, there's 2 Rumbles, so 2 chances to play here. Play in both of them, man. Have a good time. Have some fun with us. Royal Rumble game is where you draw random numbers, and that's your pick in the Rumble. If they win, man, good times happen. But the Royal Rumble game is happening soon on, again, January 28th. So be sure to follow the Throw Me Podcast Network on the YouTube, our social medias, to find out all the information there, and join our Patreon. It's good stuff going on over there, man. Just for $1. Just $1. But yeah, 2K is holding an event apparently on in San Antonio, Texas during the Royal Rumble, which is expected to be the announcement of WWE 2K23. They expect to be revealed with a hands-on gameplay. Also expected that they'll show off the showcase and the first news on a new game model. There's also reports saying on February 1st another announcement regarding 2K23 is expected to be made, although not specified what it is. There's no release date at the moment, but it is highly speculated that the game will be releasing in March, just like 2K22 did. And again, speaking of our YouTube page, you can see myself as well as Zach knocking out some gameplay on there, and WWE 2K has been some gameplay in the past. I know Zach's got a fun series on the way of Machine Gun Kelly getting beat up by everybody in the WWE, it seems. And then I'll have some random gameplays every now and then, but that'll do it for this week's episode, man. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you stay tuned in for that WWE talk. I don't know if everybody's WWE fan, but hey, I love it in this show. I love talking about stuff I love. So there you go. Review for Sick. I say check it out. Got some good horror news out there. Got some good DC news going on, man. And news around the horn and movies. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you had a good time. Again, the Throw Me Podcast Network. Stay tuned for other shows this week. If there's any horror news that breaks between now and Friday, it should be covered on the Slasher Report. Hunter's Podcast Hunter's Podcast presents the Slasher Report. They'll have you covered there with some horror news. Till my show is back, and then, check out all the other fun stuff we got going on. Metal Groove, I guess this is growing up, Core Memory Unlocked, and the Mr. Wonderful Show. All fun times, deprogrammed as well. All fun times going on over here on the Throw Me Podcast Network. We appreciate you all taking the time to listen in. I appreciate you listening to me ramble on about the stuff I find interesting. So yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. Appreciate you all joining in. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year, whenever you're listening to the show. Appreciate you taking the time. And remember, as always, the happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.